Hello and welcome back to Technology Review. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. You can find me on Facebook. Remember to send us a like on Facebook. You like our show, we really would appreciate that. That's Facebook. We're on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube as well. And on YouTube, remember to subscribe, like our show. Definitely appreciate that for your subscriptions and your likes on our show. And definitely share it as well. Share some of our YouTube videos out as well with your friends and promote our show, Technology Review. In this segment, we call it the Business Spotlight. In this Business Spotlight segment, we're going to talk about some events that are in the news and what businesses should do to be aware of identity theft and cybercrime awareness. The first thing is in our news that we talk about is net neutrality. If you guys have been listening to the news lately and understand on the news, there's been less stories talking about net neutrality. For those of you who do not know what it is the governance of the internet. Right now, there are rules that all websites and all web pages on the internet will have the same data flow and responsibility as any other. Your website is just as good as a website that has less information on the internet. However, there are some that believe that the internet should be free to roam, and businesses should be able to control whatever they like to of this utility. Notice the term utility being used, folks, because now the internet is not a luxury item. It is a necessity. Some have claimed it's even as important as water and food. Well, it's information. And information is knowledge. Information is currency. Information is the lifeblood of a society and organizations and individuals. So by having it controlled and owned by the very powerful controllers, ISP of the internet, they can control what information is disseminated to the public. Yes, folks, that's right. Lots of propaganda can be disseminated as well. That's why it's important we let our legislators know, keep the internet free and safe for us all. Right now, the FTC has approved doing away with net neutrality, allowing big businesses to go in and control the internet. However, our Congress, House Representatives, are stating that they may not approve it, although the Senate said that they will. So right now it's up in the air, but it doesn't look good for net neutrality. What does look good, folks, is that I've told you the story, whereas you can tell others to contact their legislators, let them know this is an election year. Very simple, folks. Tell your legislators we will remember in November. Keep the internet free for us all, and keep information and knowledge, power, and make it accessible to all of us who need this information out there. So that's on our net neutrality. For those of you who didn't know, now you do. Businesses, they're the number one source of data breaches. Why? Because that's where the information is, folks. That's where all of the information is kept on servers and businesses around the world. If this information can be hacked into, it can then be sold and bought by cyber hackers in the dark net, or sometimes it's on the regular streets. This information could be anything from credit card information, which we all hear about. That's the big thing now, credit card, social security numbers. But folks, it's more than just that. It is your whole profile. Now companies are under the gun, or under the thumb, if you would, of statewide governmental law enforcement agencies around the country and around the world regarding protecting the privacies of individuals. Just recently, last month, there was a new law passed called GDPR. That's GDPR, stands for General Data Protection Regulations. Now, it's out of the EU, the European Union, overseas, but it states that if a European customer wants their information to be removed from a U.S. servers, the U.S. companies have to comply. Is your company in compliance? You may ask, well, what is GDPR? I never heard of it. Well, you need to learn more about that, folks. GDPR. Contact my office. We can get you in a course, a class, and teach you about it. Google it, find out more about it, because it will affect your businesses. And companies can be fined pretty highly, significantly, if their customers from Europe, if their data was compromised by a data breach from a U.S. business. Now think, folks, what does this mean for U.S. businesses or U.S. citizens? Don't we want the same regulations as well? Well, yes, we do. So you can see that eventually we will have a U.S. version of GDPR. We do have something like it, very similar, folks, but the point of it is that there are rules and laws that individual businesses have to comply with regarding protecting their customers' data. And if you're currently not doing it, you need to find out why and how you can protect your business in protecting this data. So definitely check out GDPR. It's very important. The next one is, so what can an individual company do now? Well, lots of things they can do. One, you could start by having policies and procedures in place in your business. It's time for companies to invest in these small policies and procedures. In other words, if you capture, track, store, save, transmit from one building to a next over the internet, over a physical device, your customers' personal identifiable information, you're responsible to make sure it is safe between point A to point B and in the middle. Now, you may say that, well, use a software program, and that software program's responsibility in making sure that data is protected. Yes, part of them is the software's responsibility, but also, folks, it's also your responsibility too to make sure that data is protected as a business owner. And there are some things in place that you can do. First one is make sure you have strong passwords, folks. That's one of the number one ways that hackers are able to get and acquire data from companies and corporations. It's by hacking into passwords, having passwords that are simple for you to remember. But if they're simple for you to remember, they also can be very simple for the hackers to remember also. And for those of you who don't know out there what the number one password is that everyone uses, it's the word password. Yes, folks, unfortunately, it's a password 123. And that is a password that's been used by a lot of different companies because we are trying to be productive in what we're doing. We're wanting to be productive in what we're doing. We're not looking through the exercises of data protection. You need to take an exercise in protecting that data as well. So make sure you have a strong password. Now, there are other policies you could do as well, but that's just one of them, and that's not even the tip of the iceberg. There are several other policies you should have within your business. We'll talk to you about ways to do that. But let me ask you this question. In your business, how would you know if you had a data breach within your organization, if your company was hacked? What would you do, and how would you approach it? Who would you contact if it was a data breach? Would you let your IT people know, your software people know? Would you contact a lawyer, your insurance company, like it was a E&O claim or a disaster policy you may have in your organization? Well, no, folks. There are things that you should do in making sure that you have a risk incident procedure set up in your organization. And there's ways you could do that, protect yourself. Contact my office at macjacksonjr.com or give us a call at 702-868-0808, 868-0808. Again, area code 702, and we will talk to you about putting together policies that are in place that help you mitigate the damage of identity theft, cyber crimes, if you have them within your organization. But I tell you, folks, the best defense is training and education. Training your employees up front. If they could be trained and understanding what to do, if there's a data breach organization, how to protect your customers' data, that would become huge. The weakest link, as we've all heard these scenarios before, the weakest link to an organization, right, is through their employees, right? The human base is the weakest link in the organization of losing data. And it can be. That fact can be a true fact, folks, without having your employees trained. I've seen a lot of Pew Research reports that states this within their studies, that employees aren't trained within organizations as they should be regarding cybersecurity awareness. It's like an afterthought, right? In other words, if there was in fact a data breach going on in organizations, now they will be trained. Well, we need to be able to fight this beforehand. And there's some things that you can do of getting your employees trained. There are several different ways that you can go about this. One is that you could attend the class, you can have a consultant come in and talk to your organization about cybersecurity awareness. That's another way you can train about it. But again, the benefits would definitely be worth it, because if there is a data breach in your organization and you go through an audit, cybersecurity audit, folks, and there are no policies or procedures done, you're doing the same thing as companies that are negligent, you could be in trouble. So we want to do is to mitigate that. So find out more information about that, folks. Again, contact my company, macjacksonjr.com. That's macjacksonjr.com. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We have lots of videos there on YouTube of interviews I've done with a local attorney general for the state of Nevada regarding data breaches. You'll be able to see those previous shows as well and learn how your company can protect itself from data breaches and cyber attacks, because your information, folks, is worth money, and hackers want to get that information, so they will try any sort of way to do that, looking for your vulnerabilities. I want to thank you very much, and stay tuned for our next segment.